All right, welcome back to the channel. So Deontay Wilder is back out training in Miami, and Tyson Fury is making positive statements about Deontay Wilder's physical stature and how he looks stronger than ever. Interesting, though, there is a lot of similarities between Deontay Wilder and all of the press problems that he has and the career of Gary Russell Jr. and all of the problems that he is having right now. Eerily similar situations. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Deontay Wilder, a picture was released of him looking like he is in tremendous shape, angry, in Miami, training for the fight. Picture released by Tyson Fury, right? Now, I also have been noticing lately that there is more and more strange, information coming out about Deontay Wilder, that when you check with Deontay Wilder's camp, you find that the information is not being validated by people who are close to Deontay Wilder. But that's not anything new. Deontay Wilder has had this very odd career, which is almost identical. But not almost identical. Let me rephrase that. Similar in negative aspects to Gary Russell Jr. Deontay Wilder existed in the United States as the #1 heavyweight in the world for 5 years. Everybody knew it. Deontay Wilder was doing 1 million views on Showtime pretty much every fight he had. He was the next big American heavyweight, but he just could not get the fight that would get him over the hump. And the media reports on him were always coming out about how he's not exciting, or he's not that he's excited, but that he's wild and he's undisciplined. He doesn't fight properly. Even though when you look in the ring, he's giving you everything that he needed. It just seemed like the PBC could never really get over the hump in promoting Deontay Wilder and allowing Deontay Wilder to get these great opportunities. Now, example, you'll say, so Fanon, what's an example of that? After Tyson Fury lost his belts to a performance-enhancing drug test and a positive test for white powder that is not legal in many places, all of those belts just went into the air. One of the belts was the WBA belt. And that WBA belt, when it left Tyson Fury, it flew up in the air and landed in the lap of the PBC. The PBC had a fighter, still has a fighter, named Charles Martin, King Charles Martin. But they decided, instead of getting King Charles Martin an opportunity to unify with Deontay Wilder, they did something different. The IBF, or the PBC, was able to negotiate a fight between their guy and somebody named Anthony Joshua, who was not even represented by him. It was a young, up-and-coming heavyweight who did not have a belt, but an Olympic gold medal. And the PBC had an opportunity to make a fight between Deontay Wilder or a fight with Charles Martin and Anthony Joshua. Guess who got the fight and the opportunity to become a champion over Deontay? You know the answer to that. It's Anthony Joshua. They went with giving Eddie Hearn a free shot at a belt that they knew he was going to win. Again, the PBC gave Charles Martin a shot at a title. Gave Charles Martin a fight against Anthony Joshua in a fight that they knew he was going to lose, instead of using Charles Martin as a means by which to unify with Deontay Wilder and then give Anthony Joshua a shot at 2 belts at the same time, which would have been a much bigger fight. But the PBC couldn't pull it off. Strangely enough, Anthony Joshua becomes the megastar. Isn't that funny? Now, very similar to like Gary Russell Jr., who got one shot at Vasily Lomachenko, but strangely can only get one halfway decent fight a year with the WBC belt for multiple years. And now we see in discussions that are going on when the first opportunity that Gary Russell Jr. has to get a real fight, when it's somehow to date. And I'm not going on all this garbage that keeps going out about the fights. Oh, the fight is signed, it's not signed, it is signed, it's not signed. I'm not following all of that stuff. Miss me on all that stuff right now. I will know when the fight is signed when I get a call. So I don't need emails and all that stuff to tell me when the fight is real. I will get a call at this point in time, and I will know that the fight is real. At this point in time, it's a fight with Gary Russell Jr. where Gary Russell Jr. has to choose upon whether to leave the PBC and go fight for the zone, whatever that means, or whatever he's going to do here. But it's just such a similar circumstance. And also, it's similar in this regard, that both Deontay Wilder and Gary Russell Jr. both have issues, well-known issues, with the owner or co-owner of the PBC. Who would have known? So it's just very ironic, dude, how whenever there's a ride, we have had several fighters that have the opportunity, not necessarily Gary Russell Jr., because Gary Russell Jr. is a 126-pounder. But the PBC has the opportunity to make the next great star in boxing. They have the opportunity, for sure. But it doesn't seem like they have the motivation to do it. Doesn't seem like the motivation to do it. And I do not think at all that these things are coincidental. I do not believe it. Deontay Wilder has faced a media campaign both inside the United States and outside of the United States for several years, ever since he became a champion, and definitely ever since the LDBC started really pushing and standing behind him, right? Really pushing and standing behind him and forcing his name into the public. It was only when we forced his name into the public, forced him, and then he was willing to take on fights that he had every opportunity to lose. No easy, soft touches in order for him to be the superstar. And for him to be the superstar, it's not an aging fighter that he gets to move up in weight class and beat. No, he doesn't get the opportunity against the young champ coming up. He didn't even get an opportunity against Charles Martin to unify. But now what do you hear in these comment sections when they're tearing at Deontay Wilder? Oh, why didn't he unify? Explain why he didn't unify. Don't ask me why he didn't unify. Ask the owner of the PBC why he never unified. Ask the PBC why they would make such a stupid business decision as to allow Charles Martin to fight and give Eddie Hearn and those guys that belt, instead of doing what somebody like Bob Arum would have done and said, nah, I would rather see Pulev with the belt. I would rather see my guy fight Pulev, right, than see him fight your guy, because I make money on both sides. If the PBC had been truly interested in Deontay Wilder's career, they would have given him the fight with Charles Martin. There's problems, man. There's problems. There's problems. And when the media turns on one way or the other, look, and I don't care what type of media it is. I don't care who it is. I don't care. It is the media. And the media does an excellent job sometimes when they have the freedom to do it. But when they are in a pandemic and pressed for money and they do not have the freedom, you know, we'd be surprised with the amount of things that somebody can do with the press to cause people problems in their boxing careers. That's my take on the matter. No accusations led, but just thought that that would be good food for thought since people want to say Deontay Wilder is back and Tyson Fury is speaking so positively for him. It's amazing how there's people can find Tyson Fury to say good things about the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight, but they can't find Deontay Wilder to do it. It's just amazing. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.